Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today's a really exciting day. I'm putting out my Serum preset sample pack, as well as doing a tutorial on Serum sound design and how I've made some of those sounds in that pack, and my general philosophy on sound design. I'm really stoked about this Serum pack. It's got 70 different bass sounds in there. I've been making over the years. I put some of the best ones in there. I'll show you a couple previews of those sounds later in the video. And yeah, the tutorial I'm going to be doing is basically for beginners. So if you open up Serum and you're kind of like how a lot of people are in the beginning, where you're like, what the hell do all these knobs do? What am I even looking at? This will help you out a lot to get started making sounds and bass sounds. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it and get something out of it, whether you're a beginner or, you know, more seasoned. And if you like it, please leave a like and subscribe. I got more content coming. Anyway, let's dive right in. So for this Serum preset pack, you're going to want to have version 1.341 or later. How you can check this is by going to your Serum, going to menu and hit About. And it should pop up right here which version you have. So make sure you update or have this version or later in order to use these presets. Next, when you get the preset pack, it should look like, I'll show you here in a second. So it should look like this. It's just a zip file, and once you unzip the file, you should have all these FXP, which is the Serum preset file type. What you want to do is take them and put them wherever your Serum preset folder location is. You can also find this by going to the menu and going to Show Serum Presets folder. And that should show you wherever you have your presets. So you put them right in there, and once you have that, open your DAW back up, and it should just pop right up into your menu here. Let's get into a few of these presets and show you what you're working with. So these are pretty cool. If you're familiar with like some packs like Cymatics and stuff like that, they usually put these macro knobs with different things so you can get multiple sounds from the same patch. So check this out. So it's pretty cool. It's a way you can easily manipulate a patch so it doesn't just sound like, you know, how it starts, and make a bunch of different sounds from it. Let's check out a couple more. Pretty cool. This one's pretty cool. Check this out. It's like a sustained bass. And then the second one is super dope. Love that one. So yeah, it's really cool. You can take really basic sounds and make them to something really cool. You can also like automate those as well within your DAW, which is pretty cool. Dude. So yeah, it kind of gives you an idea of some of the sounds in there. I worked really hard on this pack, and like I said, I've made a few of them over the years. Some of them I just put together recently for this pack, and it's a pretty cool little variety of sounds in there to play with and learn from. So I hope you guys cop it and enjoy it and can learn from it. So just a side note, another really cool thing about this preset pack is you can use the Z, X, and C keys on your keyboard. So in the bottom left, to preview the sounds as you're going through it. Yeah, you can use those keys to preview their sounds, and it'll all be in the same octave. So one really annoying thing about some preset packs is they're made by a variety of people, and so when they put it together, you can have one note you're playing, and how do I explain this? One person will have it where their preset hits in a low note, you know, on like C3, and someone else will have it up octave up, and the whole time you have to switch between the keyboard, and it's really annoying. So in my pack, all of them are in the same octave, and so you don't have to switch octaves and keys to hear it in the, you know, the sweet spot or whatever. So I've got the Serum preset pack uploaded to this website. Honestly, it's the first time I'm using this Rockstar. So hopefully, guys, you're able to use it and have no issues and stuff. We'll see how it goes. If there is issues, I'll probably switch to a different website. But yeah, I have my Serum preset pack on here. You can listen to the audio demo. Should be able to just use PayPal. And then also I've got my official sample pack that has drums and everything else in here as well. Um, so yeah, hopefully you guys are able to do that. And if you have any issues, let me know. So let's get into some sound design stuff, just the basics. So when you first open Serum, you're thinking, all right, where do I go from here? What's the first step? If you're not already on a default preset, you can always go to menu and go to initialize preset. That gives you just the default sound. And so the first thing I do usually when I'm making sounds is think about what kind of sound I want. And what that comes down to basically is what kind of movement it has. So if you have like a sustained sound, that's usually something that just ramps up and just whoa, you know. If you have a growl, it's just a whoa, where it has a quick attack and quick release. Or if you have like a wonky sound that kind of repeats and just goes whoa, 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 you would want like a repeating sort of movement, an LFO. And so LFOs are what give you movement to and automate some of these knobs, make these knobs move on their own. So I'd say the most important one right off the bat is the level. That's going to be your volume of this wavetable here. And so if your level's down, you're not getting any sound. So that's pretty important. And you can automate the level to kind of give you some basic movement right away and start sculpting your sound into what you want it to be. So you can cycle through the different wavetables here on the top, or you can just click it and go to the menu. We're going to go to basic shapes because that gives you all the basic shapes you usually get in a synthesizer, sine wave, square saw, all that stuff, triangle. We're going to go ahead and do a triangle and bring the octave down twice. For me, that's the sweet spot. I like to keep everything where I can play it on my keyboard the whole time while I'm listening and making the sound. And so I use my Z, X, and C keys while I'm making the sound, and I can hear it constantly as I'm making it. So another thing I would recommend doing, unless you want your sound to be kind of randomized, is just bringing down the random phase, and that'll kind of keep your sound more consistent. I leave it on some, or I forget sometimes. Next, let's start thinking about the movement. So you can put the LFO on different knobs. All you got to do, you've got a lot to choose from, and you can keep going after that. You basically click and drag on the LFO knob, and you can put it on anything. So you can put it on any knob you see. You can put it up on the sub. You can put it anywhere. If you ever get too many, you can also just right click here and go remove all destinations. It takes them all off. If there's, your sound gets real messed up, you don't know what's going on. So let's go ahead and put this on the level. And what we're going to do is bring the knob all the way down. And with this blue sort of line, you can kind of see where the shape's going to go. So if we put it about halfway here, it's going to follow the LFO shape. So this shape goes up and then comes down. So what this is going to do, it's going to start here, go up, and then come back down. And we'll put it up a little bit further so you can actually hear what's going on. And now we have some movement to that sound, right? Next, I'm going to go ahead and put some distortion on this just so we can hear a little bit what's going on, put some frequencies in there. All right, so now you can kind of hear something happening. Another important thing with these LFOs, there's a few different options down here that are kind of important. So when you have this set to off, basically when you start that LFO, it'll pick up wherever you left off. So you can see that sort of line that's passing through it kind of just starts wherever you left off. If you set it to trigger, that means no matter every time you press it or start the sound, it'll always start at the beginning, which is kind of useful. I use that. Most people would use that if you want a very consistent sort of sound. You can see it's starting at the beginning every time. Whereas here, it's starting, and wherever you left off, basically. And the only other thing is envelope. Basically, it'll run through the LFO once and then stop wherever it stops at the end of it. So this will go all the way up and then come down, and it'll only play once. What's cool about this, you can make like one shots with it, but if you leave it up like this, you can do sustained basses and stuff like that, or like a growl. And so since it's sent to envelope and it ends up here, it's going to follow it up and then leave up instead of going back down. And so basically the LFO is going up the volume, getting to the max it out, and then just staying there. It's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully you'll kind of get what I'm saying and grasp it. It's pretty basic stuff, but I know when you're first starting out, it's pretty difficult to, put your head around some of the stuff. So you can basically do like a growl with this, and you can go through different wavetables as well. And the wavetables, most wavetables will have a lot of different positions you can cycle through, and it's a kind of way to get different sounds from that wavetable. It's hard to describe, man. But some of my favorite wavetables are in the spectral and the spectral and the digital wavetables have some really cool sounds in there. I would suggest cycling through those, and those are the stock wavetables that come with Serum. So as you're going through the wavetable position, you're kind of cycling through the different points of this wavetable. It allows you to get a bunch of different sounds from. Allows you to get a bunch of different tones from it. So we're going to go to digital and cycle through the wavetables till we find something we like. So this wavetable has a bunch of cool frequencies in there. And so when I hear a wavetable like this that sounds like it has a bunch of cool different frequencies within there, you can take that same LFO, put it on the wavetable position, and cycle through that as well. Now, when you're doing this, I find it's best to keep it how much you're automating that blue bar. Keep it as kind of thin as possible. And if you remove it, you can kind of hear the difference, or I'll bypass it. So that's sort of a static. It just kind of stays the same, whereas this has a little bit more, kind of opens up a little bit. And you'll notice sometimes when you're putting the LFO on these, it'll show up like this, where the white, the middle of the knob is there, and it's automating both sides, whereas something like this is just automating on one side or the other. The keyboard shortcut to fix that is Shift Alt and then click. Might be different on Mac. I'm not sure what it is on there, but you can just Google it, and that'll allow you to shift between automating to each side of the knob or one or the other. And you can do it however you want. You can get different sounds from it. So, or you can automate the opposite side, and then both kind of gives you interesting results as well. So that's kind of cool. So you're starting to get some basics of the sound. Now from here, there's a bunch of cool things you can do to give you some texture and tone and stuff like that. So let's go through some of these different things you can do to give texture to sound. One that Virtual Riot does a lot, and a lot of people have found from his tutorials, is FM from B. So all you do is go down to this knob here, hit FM from B, make sure your second oscillator is turned on, and then bring the level down on this, because you actually don't want to hear it. Usually for the sound, you're just using it as a for the FM. And so as you bring up the FM knob, oscillator B is basically going to be affecting oscillator A, to put it simply, and you can get some really cool different tones and stuff from that as well. Now, if you put it past the 50 mark, it can kind of get really harsh, so just be aware of that. I usually tend to use it within 40% or less. And once again, this is also something you can kind of automate if you'd like. You say you're already getting like really cool sounds, or in my opinion, I think it's pretty cool from, starting from nothing. Pretty cool. You can also do something where instead of using that same LFO, you can go to another LFO. Let's put this on there, and I'm going to set it to trigger so it starts at the same point every time. And actually for this one, I'm going to bring it down a little bit, and let's see what it sounds like this. It's not quite what I want. I want it a little bit slower, so I'm going to take the rate down. I think I might actually bring it down this way. And It's not really working that great on this sound, but for like rhythm basses and stuff, having an alternating pattern like that can be cool, like on a phaser or something like that. Yeah, I don't really like it on there, to be honest, but maybe I'll show you on a rhythm bass later. It'll make more sense. You can also automate this. I'm gonna bring it like that. Also, if you're using FM beat from beat, it's just a good habit to bring the random phase down on both of those. Now we have a very consistent sound. It sounds the same every time you play it. Anyway, what would I do with something like this? It's sounding pretty good. I'd probably start using the filter. And filter out some of those harsh frequencies and bring them back in. So we're just going to automate that cutoff. Yeah, the resonance doesn't sound too good on this one. Not bad, but I kind of like how that sounds better. You can add the hyper and dimension is good for adding like some space to it and stuff, kind of like reverb, but without getting so messy. When you first turn it on, mixes are going to be up usually, which if you're hearing on headphones or stereo speakers, you can hear it kind of going crazy. I'd bring that down first. Now you have your sound again, and you can bring up dimension to hear what that does, which kind of sounds like how it, it is what it sounds like. It's add some dimension to it. So some stereo width. I see most people usually bring it down quite a bit because once you get up here, kind of gets real messy. But it can sound really good in short bursts and keeping the mix down. And then the hyper, it kind of gives it more voices. That's what the unison, if you know all that stuff. If you don't, it basically just makes it sound a little like wider and crazier. It gives it more, instead of being like one wave table, it brings it in multiple. But it can be something cool to automate as well, where you put the LFO on it and bring it up. So that gives it some room and whatnot. And you can bring on the filter and do some cool stuff here as well. The filter is pretty similar to this one as well. But you can use two. You can use the one here. You can use this one as well. One of the ones I like doing is the flanger or a comb filter. And you can do something cool where you bring the resonance up. Drive will give you some extra volume. And then if you bring this low pass frequency up, along with the resonance, and then bring the cutoff down. Yeah, so if you bring that low frequency, if you bring that low pass frequency up all the way and then bring the resonance up, you can kind of get like a tonal delay on there as well. Which is really cool as well. That's one of the things you can do. In the miscellaneous, there's a lot of cool things here. I kind of like these format filters. Maybe not so much in there. That's sick. What else do we have in here? Combs, like I said. You can do all sorts of cool stuff with that. And one Dr. Ozzy showed me, I remember, was the reverb filter, which you can get some cool stuff as well, but you got to be kind of careful with how much you put on there. Once you get really low, like on the left side of this knob, it gets real messy, but as you go up, it kind of filters through a bunch of cool frequencies. So yeah, you can just add texture that way with all the different filters. I think that sounds kind of cool. So I'll stop there, and you can use a compressor. If you put on multiband, it's basically like having an OTT. is pretty cool. You could put reverb on if you want, which I do on some. Depends if you want to put on the reverb through Serum or through another plugin. One more thing I'll show, which is cool, is if you turn on the EQ, click these notch filters, bring down the gain on each one, and then we're going to throw this LFO on the frequency knob on each side. And actually, I'll turn this off for now. We'll just do one at a time. This is kind of a cool little trick. It's using notches, which is like a dip in the EQ on the highs and the lows, and you bring them together, and it makes like a cool vowel sound. A lot of cool people that are great at doing sound design, like Recoil, and people I've seen do this in the past. It's so sick, and it's something I definitely picked up as well. So you put them on each side, on the frequency on that side, and then on this side, you want to start this one and bring it back, and you can see that if I bypass this again, on this side, it's starting from the bottom and going up, so you can see it's starting, the notch is starting from the left side and moving to the middle. And then on this side, for enable it again, it's going to be coming from the top and going back. And depending on how far you bring them together or apart, you get different little sounds. So if we were to take that off, and give you kind of a little more focus sound. You can also, I wouldn't suggest bringing the gain up, but you can do it the opposite way, where you bring the gain up, and actually sounds dope. Okay, forget what I said. That's something that's really important about this too, is just like I mentioned in my massive tutorial, a lot of it's experimenting. Sometimes you can break the rules, you know, screw it, put a reverb on a sub and see what happens. You can get some cool stuff, and I've gotten a lot of cool stuff that way. So a lot of it is experimentation. Anyway, so we have a cool sound there. And if you want, you can do a sub separate, like in another Serum, or you can do this where you turn it on there. I'll turn off these sounds for now. So if you just turn it on and use it directly, it's going through all these effects as well. This is why it sounds weird. So you want to hit direct out, and that'll bypass all those effects so that the sub doesn't get affected by it. You can bring it down 2 octaves, just like the other sounds. Now we have a sub. I personally like using the triangle. You can also use any of these first 3 are really good, to be honest. But so what's happening, what I'm thinking right now is the sub's kind of quiet, and this is very loud. So something you can do is bring down the level of the bass sound. I'm going to turn off the sub real quick. So if I bring this down, it gets quieter. So I'll bring that down to like 50 and then turn the sub on. And I'm going to automate the level, which is the volume of the sub, with the same LFO. It comes in like that. Bring up the master, bring down the level a little bit, then we can gradually bring it back up till it sounds good. Anyway, there's an example of a basic sound there. Let's try another one. Let's start with a new one here. So we're going to initialize, and let's just use the default wavetable and see what we can just do with that. So first thing I'm going to do is, for this one, let's try doing a faster LFO on this one. So say we want a sound that's like whoom, 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 something like that. Yeah, I know, it's great. We'll do some triplets. You can turn on this trip, which is triplets, and that allows you to do triplets. Put on some distortion. Tube is actually pretty good. It's a good standard go-to. And I'm instantly just going to turn on a filter right away, so it's not so harsh. So you can automate the level there. You could also just leave the level where it's at and automate the filter. And I just want to demonstrate how you can just take something very that sounds very simple and just turn it into something cool. So we'll do the same thing as we did last time, where turn on the other oscillator, turn the level down because we don't want to hear it, and then do FM from B. And we can turn this one up a little bit. And I forgot, I'm going to turn down the random because I don't want it to alternate like that. So that's kind of cool. It could be beefier, so we're going to turn on the compressor, the multiband, just bring it up. You can turn on the hyper. I'm going to bring the mix of the hyper down, bring up down the dimension, and then up the mix. So with just a few, just adding a few couple things, we took the default wavetable and just made it into something that's nothing crazy, but sounds kind of cool. And then from here, you might, I would probably turn on the other filter and see what we can do there. I'll probably put it before the compressor. Throw in something like the reverb again. Or you could turn on the, like a comb filter. Bring up the resonance. Oof, that's kind of harsh. So it's kind of cool sounds there. Something you could do with this, that now that I'm hearing it, you could take LFO2, put it on the cutoff, and shift Alt again to turn it to both sides. And you could have this one go slowly. I didn't explain that, by the way. The rate knob is how fast the wobble's going, or the LFO. So actually, let me bypass this. But yeah, so that controls the speed of the LFO, or the, how fast this goes through. And when you put it on level or something, or the cutoff, it's basically controlling how fast the wobble is. So anyway, what I was getting to, LFO2, bring it back on. I don't want this going as fast. I do want it to, actually I'm going to leave it off for this one because some randomization would be cool. But we're going to bring the speed down and have it just kind of cycle through these frequencies here. Maybe even slower than that, honestly. Just add a little variation in there, I'm making some weird face. Now let's do the same thing with the EQ that I showed you last time. Notch, bring down the gain. Let's put the LFO on the frequencies. Start one down here and then bring it in. This one the opposite side. And we could even do the gain up. See how that sounds. So there you kind of get it. It sounds a little too yoy, like. So we'll actually bring those down. So it sounds kind of cool. And once again, you can add the sub direct out so it doesn't go through the effects. Oops, bring the octave down too. LFO on it. And you can control the volume here. So kind of cool. Also, speaking of yoy, you can go here, turn on downsample. If you have it at 50 or 50 sounds good, you can bring it down further. But 50% will give you kind of that yoy. It's kind of cool. So there you go. All right, I think we'll do one more sound. I don't want this video to be too long. So we'll go to initialize preset. And what's a good final sound to do? So we did sort of a sustain. We did sort of a wobble. Let's just do like a one-shot growl type of thing. So for this, I actually want to sculpt this LFO a little bit. So you put this on the LFO, and I'm going to bring this up forward a little bit and put this on envelope. So now it just hits once, bring the octave down. Let's try spectral for this one. Yeah, the monster wavetables in spectral have some really cool frequencies to them. So I'm going to automate the wavetable here, the wavetable position. Maybe I'll do. Okay, so we can take something simple like this. Something else we can do actually is turn up the unison, which will kind of spread it out a little bit, give you multiple voices and spread it into stereo. I think this would sound cool with some stereo and multiple voices. We'll turn on the filter, get some movement with that. So it kind of takes some of the sharpness off, makes it a little smoother. Definitely would sound good with some dimension expander. This almost sounds like a cool, like little Nero thing. So I think some reverb at the end would be cool. That kind of sounds cool already. Thinking about like maybe beefing it up, but honestly putting a sub under it would be cool. Like probably beef it up enough. What else could we do? EQ, the notch EQ. Automation might be cool on this as well. Yeah, honestly, let's put a sub under it, see how it sounds. Follow the same wave, the LFO and the level. Bring the volume down on this. And I feel like a delay could be cool in this too. So to get that tonal delay, you can put it on link, which when you move these, they go together. If you don't, they'll adjust each side individually. So we put it on link. You bring this way down to short. Which will give you that tonal delay. I like to turn BPM off and just set it myself. That gives you more control. But we're actually not going to be using that for this sound. I want it to be BPM so I can... You can set it to ping pong. Gives you some stereo. Bring the feedback down. Kind of cool sounds. Turn on the reverb. It's not really like a brutal growl or anything, but it's kind of a cool little neuro sound. Anyway, I wanted to give you just like an example of the kind of stuff you can do with some basic techniques. You know, you can use all the default wavetables. Maybe I can get a little more in depth on a future tutorial or something like that. Anyway, I hope that was helpful for you guys. Please check out the Serum preset pack if you're interested in helping support me. And I decided to do this before the mastering and stuff because I wanted to get this pack out, and it made sense to do the tutorial along with it. But I do want to cover a little bit of mastering and mixing and stuff, how I do it. And like I said, guys, the way I do things is just my way, and that's what I'm trying to teach. I'm not trying to teach the correct way to do things, just my experience and how I get the sounds and stuff that I do. And I do master and mix all my own tracks. I've done that from the beginning. So, you know, if you think my music sounds good, then, you know, you could learn how I do that. I think my stuff sounds decent, but maybe not the cleanest. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I hope you guys enjoyed, and till next time, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.